Right now, there is a task you are avoiding. You know what it is, and right now in this second, your brain is telling you a lie about it to keep you away. Watch it happen live. You glance at the task, you feel a flicker of something bad, and your brain quietly rewrites the moment so that stopping feels like the smart, safe choice. Here you are instead, scrolling, snacking, suddenly fascinated by a drawer you have ignored for a year. That is not weakness. That is the edit working perfectly. For most of your life, someone told you this is laziness, a character flaw. The research says that label is wrong, and worse, it hides what is actually going on. Because procrastination is not about time, and it is not about willpower. It is a story your brain writes to spare you a feeling, and once you see the story, you can never unsee it. Start here. When you face that task, before you avoid anything, something happens in a fraction of a second. You feel a small flinch. Maybe the task is boring, maybe it is confusing, maybe a quiet voice whispers that you might do it badly, and everyone will see. Whatever the flavor, the task triggers a bad feeling, and your brain treats that feeling like a small fire it needs to put out right now. Researchers like Tim Peichel and Fushia Sarawa reframed the whole thing around this. Procrastination, they argue, is not a time management failure, it is emotion regulation. In plain words, you are not avoiding the task, you are avoiding the feeling the task gives you. The scrolling is just the escape hatch. And the moment you escape, you feel better. Instantly. That relief is the trap closing, and we will get to why in a second. But first, why is the escape so irresistible? To understand that, you have to meet the two characters living inside your skull. The first is ancient, deep, emotional, impulsive. It runs on one simple rule: feel good now. Scientists tie this kind of drive to the older limbic parts of the brain. Second is the new arrival. The prefrontal cortex, just behind your forehead. It plans, it imagines the future, it weighs consequences. When you decide to do the task, that is the calm planner talking. Sensible, quiet, reasonable. The instant you feel that flinch, the ancient one wakes up screaming. And here is the cruel part. It is faster and it is louder. In the heat of the moment, the impulsive now brain almost always wins. Not because you are weak, because it was built to win. Rehook. Because this is where it gets personal. Why would evolution build a brain that sabotages your own goals like this? Almost all of human history later was not guaranteed. Food might rot, a rival might take it, winter might come. The smart move was simple: grab the reward now. A brain that grabbed now survived. A brain that waited politely for next month sometimes did not. So now bias got wired in deep, long before deadlines existed. Psychologists have a name for this glitch. It is called present bias or temporal discounting, and it is wildly easy to catch yourself doing. Here is the experiment your own mind runs. A reward today feels enormous. The exact same reward next year feels faint and gray, almost not worth counting. So when the task offers a payoff in the distant future, but scrolling offers a payoff in 2 seconds, the math is rigged. Future you does not stand a chance. Which raises the obvious question. Why do we throw future you under the bus so easily? Why does dumping work on tomorrow feel almost free? The answer is genuinely unsettling, and it comes from brain scanning research by a psychologist named Hal Hershfield. He looked at what the brain does when people think about their future self. You would expect it to light up like thinking about you. It does not. The pattern looked more like the brain thinking about a different person entirely, a stranger. To your brain, future you is, in a real sense, someone else. Now it all clicks. Why feel guilty piling work on next week? That is not you who suffers. That is some stranger who happens to share your name. Hirschfield even found that people who felt more connected to their future selves tended to make more patient choices. The stranger problem is part of the engine. Now zoom out, because this is bigger than procrastination. Your brain does not show you reality. It builds you a version of it, then hands you the finished story as if it were just the truth. Here, it told you 2 lies at once. That the future you is a stranger, you owe nothing. And that the bad feeling is the task itself, when really it is just a feeling about the task. This is one of the ways your brain edits your world instead of showing it to you. So we have a brain that fears the feeling, craves the now, and treats tomorrow as someone else's problem. And then the modern world hands it a weapon. Phone, the feed, the endless scroll. To understand why it is so perfectly suited to this, we need one more character: dopamine. People think dopamine is the pleasure chemical. It is closer to the chasing chemical. It spikes not when you get a reward, but when one might be coming. Every swipe is a tiny maybe, maybe something funny, maybe something new. Each unknown gives a little hit of chasing, then another, forever. Now compare your two options. The boring task, zero novelty, a faint reward far away. The feed, infinite novelty, tiny rewards every second. Against that, the task never had a chance. The phone is not just a distraction. It is a perfectly engineered escape hatch for the exact feeling you are fleeing. Rehook, because here is where the trap snaps shut and the real damage begins. The escape works. That is the problem. You avoid the task, the bad feeling drops, and your brain files away a lesson. Avoiding equals relief. Do that again. You have just trained yourself by accident to procrastinate. Every escape makes the next one a little more automatic. But the relief is a loan, not a gift. The task is still there, and now it is wearing something new. Guilt. Every hour you avoid it, you quietly add a layer of shame on top of the original boredom or fear. Tomorrow, when you face it again, it does not just feel boring. It feels boring plus heavy plus ashamed. The flinch is now bigger, which makes the escape even more tempting, which adds more guilt, round and round. Researchers call this the procrastination shame spiral. This is not just a bad mood. Fuchsia Sirois research links chronic procrastination to measurably higher stress and, over time, worse health. Let me say the thing clearly, because it changes everything that comes next. If you procrastinate, you are not lazy and you are not broken. You are a normal human running ancient wiring inside a world it was never designed for. That is not an excuse. It is a map. And once you have the map, you can stop fighting the brain head-on and start working with it. Here is what the research actually suggests. First, and this one surprises people, forgive yourself. Not as a feel-good slogan, as a measured intervention. In a study by Michael Wohl and colleagues, students who forgave themselves for procrastinating before one exam actually procrastinated less before the next one. It sounds backwards, but remember the spiral. Shame feeds avoidance. Drop the shame, and you take fuel out of the loop. So step one is not a planner, it is one sentence. That was human. Let it go. Now, what is the next small step? Step 2 attacks the feeling directly. Remember, the brain flinches because the task feels huge, vague, and threatening, so shrink it until it stops being scary. Not commit to writing the report. Commit to opening the document and typing one ugly sentence. Aim for the next 2 minutes, nothing more. This works because of a quirk of starting. The dread is almost always worse than the doing. Once you begin, the bad feeling you were fleeing usually fades on its own within minutes. Step 3. Make the easy escape harder and the hard task easier. Researchers call this reducing friction, and small barriers matter more than willpower. Put the phone in another room, close the tabs, and lay the task out the night before, so future you wakes up to a runway, not a wall. Which sneaks in step 4, and it is my favorite because it hacks the stranger problem directly. Build a bridge to your future self. When future you stops being a Some people picture their future self in vivid detail. Some write them a quick note. The science here is young, so hold it loosely, but the principle is solid. Step 5 reframes the whole task. You have been attaching it to the feeling you fear. Anxiety, boredom, the dread of doing it badly. Try tying it instead to a feeling you actually want. Not, I have to finish this, but I get to feel that quiet pride when it is done and off my back. You are not lying to yourself. You are choosing which true thing to look at. The brain follows the feeling, so point the feeling somewhere better. If you want one tidy way to hold all of this, a researcher named Piers Steele packed it into what he called the procrastination equation. His idea: your motivation goes up when you expect to succeed and when the task feels valuable. It goes down when you are impulsive and when the reward is far away. Look closely, and every escape we covered is just one lever on that scale. Shrink the task, raise expectancy. Tie it to a feeling, raise value. Cut the phone friction, lower impulsiveness, bridge to future you, shorten the delay. You are not fighting the equation, you are quietly editing it. Rehook one last time, because I want to leave you with a feeling, not just a checklist. Step back and look at the whole machine. A brain that fears a feeling and flinches, a now self that shouts while the planner whispers, a future you that reads as a stranger, a phone built to exploit all three. When you see it laid out like that, the wonder is not that you procrastinate sometimes, it is that you ever manage to start anything at all. So drop the word lazy. It was never the right word. Lazy says there is nothing you can do. The truth says the opposite. You are not at war with a flaw in your character. You are working with a brilliant, ancient survival machine that is simply a few thousand years out of date. You do not beat that machine with shame, and you do not beat it with more pressure. You guide it, one forgiven slip, one 2-minute start, one small bridge to the stranger you are becoming. The task is still there, but now you understand the flinch. You can feel it rise, name it, and step in anyway, knowing the spikes fall off the moment you touch them. And here is the warm part. That lie was never an attack on you. It is ancient wiring trying to spare you a bad feeling, the same instinct that once pulled your hands back from fire. It is not a flaw in your character. It is love, just badly aimed. So thank the flinch, then step past it. Pick one tiny task and give the stranger you are becoming a 2-minute head start. You are not broken. You are finally reading your own story instead of being run by it. You do not see reality. You see the story your brain writes for you. Today, we caught it in one of its lies. Follow Mind Stuff, and I will show you the next one.